Kia ora and welcome to the Careering Podcast. I'm Melissa Davies and I'm here with the ever awesome Kelsey Ingalls. Hola, Kelsey.
Hola, motherfuckers.
That's coming in hot today, Kels. How you doing?
I'm tired.
Tired?
I need more wine.
Okay, fair. Relatable.
Yeah.
Is any special reason you need more wine?
Oh, just life.
Just life.
Yeah.
Sunshine equals wine.
Yeah.
Loves.
Or just like any time of the day or any kind of weather.
You doing okay?
I'm not an alcoholic, I promise. Just tired, need some wine. How you doing?
Fair. Now thinking about wine.
Do you need some too?
Yes, I do
Well,
actually.
that's good.
Pink wine, bubbly wine.
All of the wines. I'm not discriminatory.
Oh, you're so inclusive.
Don't see colour. That's the only time that's ever appropriate to say that. Just FYI.
Good save. So what's been grabbing your attention this week, Kels?
Wine. No? Okay. Books. I've got
books
lots of
and wine.
Books and wine.
Oh, books. Talk,
Yeah.
talk to us about what style of book is.
Oh, smutty fairy porn at the moment. You know, just old classics. You know, we love Sarah J. Maas has just released another book, and so all the girlies are on that. And then I've just bought some other ones that are going to be really good as well. And yeah.
Yeah, Kels and I should not be allowed to go into bookstores together because we pop in for one book and both walk out with at least 3 each.
I got 3, you got 5 last time. But, you know, I read fantasy, you read historical fiction. What do you read?
Yeah, historical fiction or just
Like someone living on a ranch.
no, haven't read a lot of
What
those.
are you reading now?
What am I reading now? Oh no, this lady she is a helicopter pilot who goes off to war and her husband has to be like the single dad at home with the 2 daughters, and it's navigating being in a war zone and coming back home and all of that. So
Oh,
yeah,
we read very different things.
we do.
One of the books I bought was a retelling of the Greek story of Persephone and Hades, and like the myth is that Hades stole Persephone and took her down to hell. And this book is retelling it in the fact that no, actually, she jumped and she wanted to go. And I'm really looking forward to reading it. Anyway, what are you obsessed with this week? What's on your mind? What's grabbing your attention?
What I'm really noticing is how many people have had the benefit of growing up learning dance or music. And
I'm always stunned, man. I'm always stunned. Keep going. Yep.
and maybe it's because we didn't and I have zero ability in either field. But I've just met so many people lately that have grown up in learning those skills at a young age and then pursuing those as hobbies or passions, and how the skills you build in those areas really positively impact other parts of your life.
Give me an example.
So when I was in New Caledonia this year, I met this really cool couple called Carolyn and Duncan. And Carolyn's original qualification was a music degree. And then she retrained as an architect and she designs amazing structures. And I kind of said, oh, that's quite an interesting shift from music to architecture. And she's like, well, actually, no, they both are tools that help you be expressive creatively. And we talked about it quite a lot, and it made me see things in quite a different way. And because I don't have that background, it was fascinating to learn how those two, what I see as quite creative pursuits, come together in quite a structured way. And so now for fun, she is part of an a cappella group, and her role in the a cappella group is to take structured music and rearrange it for a cappella. And I just don't know, I don't have those skills. And so meeting people that see things, like see music differently, like I just hear it, love a good country song. I think, can I line dance to that? You know, I really appreciate music. It's important to me, but I don't know how to structure it, build a song, create an outcome the way she's done it, repurpose music in a different form. Like I just have a lot of admiration for that. And I'm like, the synergy between that and, you know, people I know now that are managing directors or they're, you know, agile consultants, they come from musical backgrounds. And I just find that fascinating.
Fair. Okay. All I wanted to say while you were talking about a cappella groups was, excuse me. Sorry, I just had to get that out. That was just an all-consuming thought.
Anytime you can find a window to inject a Pitch Perfect reference, please do.
My favourite Pitch Perfect reference is like, I'm horizontal running.
Oh yeah, I loved Fat Amy. She was such a good character.
It's ridiculous that she even got called Fat Amy, but
even though, remember, she got offended. She goes, "Fat Amy's not even my real name."
yeah.
Was it Fat Patricia?
Yeah, Fat Patricia.
I'm like, Amy's not a shortened version of Patricia. I don't understand this.
Oh God. Anyway,
It took a turn.
what do we? Okay, so you're interested in people that have a musical background.
Yeah, or dance.
But you dance.
I don't have a dance background, and I do line dancing. Don't accuse me of being a dancer,
It's still got dance in the title.
because there's a lot of stomping, Kels. It's not when I hear the word dance.
Stomping and kicking.
yeah, there's a lot of stomping and kicking, twirling. My inner 5-year-old loves that very much. I do enthusiastically twirl, and I have met the coolest people through line dancing. To be fair, it is one of those hobbies where I'm constantly amazed at the diverse range of people that do it, and so I love being in that environment where I'm just out of my head and leave work behind for the day, and I get to hang with people who maybe I wouldn't cross paths with normally. So
Yeah, because they're all 80.
only my besties. 83, actually.
Apologies. Right, what are we talking about this week?
We are talking about some of the tools that help you get better insight into yourself. Like, I think one of the things we talked about in our fears episode was, knowing yourself better or where your fears come from is always helpful. But I think more broadly in a career sense, having little moments of insight to better understand your preferences, the way you communicate, how you get energy, your strengths are really helpful for then informing what career steps you make. So we thought we'd do a couple of episodes where we do a deep dive into a couple of tools that are good to have in the toolkit, and would share our results and experience of these tools. So the first one we thought we'd have a chat about is DISC.
Good old disc.
Good old DISC.
Loves a good old disc. Now, also, just before we get into this, a lot of people are like, no, it doesn't match my type of life, or don't put me in a box, or blah, 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 blah. Look, it is one tool of many. It's not like a school report card. It doesn't put you in a box. It is just another tool to give you another bit of information. Take what you need and leave what you don't. It's not that fucking intense.
Yeah, so don't add us if you're one of those people.
Oh, God.
We know.
Some people are just so black and white about it, and it's just like, oh, well, I can't do it because I'm having a bad week. And I'm like, oh, my God, like, team, chill the fuck out. Like, it's not that intense. Or people that go, well, I did it while I was just focusing on this current role. And I was like, well, what else are you doing? Like, I don't understand it. I think I'm a generalist person myself, so I struggle to understand. But you might understand those people a bit more than I do.
I think for some people, they struggle with connecting with the outcome they get from these tests.
Yeah.
And so in anticipation of an outcome, maybe reflecting on themselves in a way they don't like, they discredit the assessment in the first instance.
Yeah.
So like the tool shit, meaning I don't like what it says.
That's also true. So, someone at work calls them corporate horoscopes. And I find it funny. But I know that you're just like, don't degrade horoscopes.
Yeah, I'm like, astrology is based on astronomy. It's a science. Loves me some woo-woo. But also I think I kind of liken all of these tools around self and that give self-insight professionally or personally is kind of like being stars in the sky. So I find it funny that it's likened to astrology because I liken it to stars too. But more around the more stars you have in the sky, the brighter it is. And so the better you can see and know yourself. So
I also find, so I lead a team of men and women, all different ages and stages and blah, 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 backgrounds, all the rest of it. I have found the conversations that I've had with teams that I've led that, and this is probably a gross generalisation, so this is just on my experience, the men have tended to understand or know themselves a lot stronger than the women have. And so when we've done these things, they've just gone, I don't need to do them. Like, I know what this is. I know these results. Like, I know this shit. Sometimes they don't, just FYI. Whereas the women that I've worked with in these spaces have been a lot more, actually, this is really helpful. I have learned something about myself, or I've actually can go, oh, okay, yep, no, I can put a name to that now. And I do think especially, as older women, when they've grown up and they've not really had that full feminist identity or had the time or the chance to actually understand themselves, and it's been raising kids or raising your husband, all those sort of things, you haven't actually had an opportunity to figure out who you are in that space. And so I was just an interesting observation that I've found over the last few years.
That is super interesting. And as you're talking, it kind of makes me wonder if, because of historic gender norms, there's more opportunity for men to be introspective and focus on what they want and what they need and who they are, and less opportunity for women to do so, unless it's a conscious choice.
Well, and more expectations for women to be looking out externally rather than inwardly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's just, you've defined the patriarchy.
Yay.
Look, we're only 11 minutes in and I've already said the word patriarchy.
Haven't said it for a few episodes though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So anyway, that's a good...
some context.
Good context, good clarification. And when we talk about this, I think just remember it's one of many tools. We'll be talking about lots of different ones, but think of it in a mindset of just generally getting some more information.
Yeah. And I think it's also, any of these tools are true at a point in time.
Yeah.
So we do evolve and grow, and just because you did an assessment of a certain thing age 21 doesn't mean that at age 71 you've got the same preferences. So
my roles often change my outcomes.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing, which says to me that it's correct. But I tend to take the categories more than the assessment outcome.
Yeah. Have you done the 128 deep dive, full psych debrief type disc one?
No, I have not. Have you?
Yes, a couple of times.
Talk me through that one.
Well, I think that what's interesting for me is I agree with you. I think you can read about the DISC framework, and we'll chuck some links in the show notes to some good summaries of it, because actually it's 4 quadrants. So in terms of context, it's called DISC because each letter stands for a style. And there's arguments about whether it's a personality tool or a communication styles preference tool. I see it as a communication style preference tool.
Oh, sure, me too.
Yeah, whereas some people would see it as a personality tool. But I think if you look at through the lens of how do I like to communicate and how do others around me like to be communicated with, then it's really helpful. And so it was designed in 1928, the theory was, by a guy called William Marsden. And then in 1956, an industrial psychologist called Walter Clark turned it into a self-assessment tool. So like anything, if the tool is self-assessed, then your own biases are going to influence the outcome you get.
For sure.
So I think to your point, Cal, sometimes the test result is a self-fulfilling reflection of how you see you.
Oh, for sure. And I've seen that play out many a time.
Yeah, so often it's your aspirational self that comes back in the results rather than your true self. And so looking at the generalist 4 quadrants of D, I, S, and Z is quite useful. And I think the other framing that's really important is to kind of go, everyone has elements of all 4 styles. You'll just have some that are stronger than others.
And we use different ones in different situations.
Yeah, it's context dependent. So you will have a natural style in your home sort of social environments, and that is likely, it could be the same or it could be different to how you show up at work. Or if you're coaching a soccer team, if you're, the captain of your synchronized swimming club.
Oh, mine's just when I'm hungry or I need to pee.
You go very D?
I go full D. Yeah. Like, will you just hurry the fuck up?
I think we all do.
Yeah. Or someone,
hangry.
Or if someone talks like this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking murder you.
You clearly have D in your profile.
Yeah. So do you.
Yeah, I know. I relate. But that's one of the signals actually, is D's talk really fast.
Yeah, fair.
Low patience.
Yeah.
That's how I'm like, I know you have D in yours, because neither of us do well with we don't have a lot of patience.
Yeah, and you can't really play this on two times speed.
No.
It doesn't make much sense.
No, we sound as fast as most other podcasts on 2 speed, on normal speed. Yeah, so in terms of doing an assessment, it is always a self-assessment, and there's lots of free ones online. So we'll put a link in the show notes to one of the free assessments so you can get a gist of it. But there are different variations. You can get trained as a disc profile.
Oh yeah, you can go full deep on it, eh?
Yeah, but people are trained as consultants on it, and they will sit with you and give you a full debrief on your style and how that works. And lots of leadership coaches will get trained and have DISC, Gallup, and other accreditations where they deeply understand the framework, the methodology, etc., and they can articulate that to you. And you usually get a written report that supports that. So I've kind of had all of those approaches at different times in my life. So the first time I came across DISC actually was when I did David Foreman, which is a sales training course in my early 20s. And we got introduced to DISC as part of finding ways to better communicate with customers. And it's really stuck with me because what the instructor said is that we will like people who communicate in the same style as us more than those that are different to us, because it's easier. If someone's similar style to us, like you and I do, with some C, then it's really easy because you're coming at it from the same communication pace. We've, task over people, like the other two lenses that DISC is broken down into: slow pace, fast pace, task, people. And so when you find people with this sitting in the same quadrant as you'll find it easier to work with them because
you're finishing each other's sentences at that point.
And you communicate the same way, you kind of prioritize the same things. Where you'll find it really hard is there's natural tension with styles that are opposite from you. So
God. Slow paced task people are the bane of my existence.
Yeah, so S's and C's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, D's are often called dominant directors. So they talk fast, it's one way, they give instructions, they want it done now. They're the bullet point people. You don't want to send them a 6-page essay about what happened. You want to be like, this happened, this is why, now I want you to do this.
And honestly, if you don't, they will tell you to fuck right off.
They won't even open your email.
No.
Yeah.
They'll be like, no, it's too boring, didn't want to read it.
Yeah. Too long.
Yeah.
Whereas I's, give us a description. How would you describe an I, Kels?
I need everyone to love me, and I love to influence people, and I need to be a peacock, and I need to be extroverted and love all the humans and influence humans to love each other.
Yeah.
It's the real happy clappy shit.
Yeah, eyes are on the fast and people focused.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm high eye.
Yeah, eyes value relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And S's, how would you describe an S?
Oh my God, they just want everything to be calm, everything to be the same, nobody to rock the boat. We need consistency, we need calm, very process orientated in terms of the process just working and everyone being in their places and doing things as they're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that correct?
Yep, steadiness.
Great.
So they value people and slow pace.
Yes.
So they find change really hard.
Yes.
And then C's. So C is conscientiousness, S is steadiness, I is influence, D is dominant. How would you describe C's?
Give me a list and let me tick a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they loves the process.
Tell me I'm perfect.
Tell me I'm perfect. Tell me I've done 100%. Tell me I got an A+.
Yeah.
Let me tick a box. Let me make everything 100% correct.
Yeah, let me not move until I've assessed everything and made sure I can get it right. And
Black and white.
Yeah, and perfectionistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all 4 styles have pros and cons, as you can see, and there's some natural tensions between styles. So D's and S's struggle often because D's want to move fast and follow task. S's want to move more slowly and follow people and consider people. I's and C's.
I've met some people that are almost even between D and S, and I found it fascinating.
Yeah, that says to me they've learned a behaviour to fit in.
Yeah.
It's not their natural style.
Yeah, it's almost like
Because they're going, how do I be the most average? Because actually you want environments where you've got all 4, because all 4 can really round out your
I want to
approach,
use my dominance to make everything steady.
Yeah. But there's a natural tension with that. And
Yeah.
so they're either unhappy and don't do good work, or they were lying in the self-assessment.
Yeah, probably.
To be fair though, I've seen a lot of people that sit quite flat across all 4.
Yeah.
And again, have done it much younger in the David Foreman environment, where it was kind of the informal tool, like just a quick 15 questions, give it a go, you're probably this. And then more recently I've done it with a leadership coach in a lot more depth. And it's interesting. So I am ID, and under pressure you become more of what you naturally are. So you have your work mask and then your personal mask. Whatever your personal mask is, you become more of that under pressure. Mm-hmm. And so So people that are S's and C's will double down needing more information. And I's will just want to have a good time and avoid the subject probably. And D's will be just
and make sure everyone's happy and having a great
have
time.
a good time. Yeah. And D's will be like, just get it done.
Yeah.
D's will become
fucking around.
Yeah. D's will become quite detached and quite directive.
Yeah.
And everyone, no one's happy when everyone's at their worst. Like when we play out to the extremes of all four styles, it's not fun.
Yeah.
And so what was interesting when I did mine is because there's a spectrum, right? Like it's a circle.
You're not just one.
Yeah, you're not just one.
Your 100% is made up on the 4 different quadrants.
Yeah. And where you sit from, you might have moderate D or you might be high D, so it's not like you're D or you're not.
Yeah.
Like there's a spectrum. And so I'm moderate I, moderate D, but I have this really weird collaboration lens in my report. So what it says is that's really uncommon for a DI. Normally that's an SC behavior, whereas I'm like, and I remember being asked once about, people assume that I'm really competitive because I'm motivated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if I win. And winning for me means we all win. And we as either my team, my cohort, my friends, my family. I'm not in this for me. I'm in it for whoever my collective is around this. And I never really understood where that came from. And so it was quite interesting seeing that play out in a style, being like, if someone says to me, I want you to do these things and you'll get the best outcome, I'll be like, but how does it impact my team? Just naturally think like that. And
also because like success comes from your team doing well. Like you've got that real I influence in it. Yeah, there's people focused.
Yeah, so that's and I don't think I have very high E's, but weird. That's why that collaboration lens is weird on my style. So what about you? When have you come across that? How have you applied it?
So used it in my life, in my work career. So did it earlier on. Taught it in China, and then have used it to help the people that I've worked with communicate with each other better.
Yeah, nice.
So interestingly, mine has changed in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So because my role's changed, and so I never used to have much D. Like I used to be sort of a lower D, high I, moderate S, and a sort of a lower C. So I knew that when I got into stress mode, I picked up my C and went, I need to do all of the things perfectly.
Yeah, I'm like, I've travelled with you.
Yeah,
and it actually works in my favour because Klaus is amazing at planning travel.
Yeah, so when I'm stressed and I know I've got a thing to do, I'm high C. But I want everyone around me to be happy and calm and having a good time and all the rest of it. And then D would be, it depended on the situation that I was in, but often in work, because I wasn't in roles where I had to be dominant a lot of the time, and I was quite autonomous I often worked in teams by myself or on my own. But now D's are way higher because I'm just like, I've got no patience anymore. Everyone get out the fucking way and get things done. So I've definitely lost a lot of my S. My D has grown and my C has grown as well, but my I still remains the same. But when I was teaching it in China, we used to associate the birds to it, so we used to call it the bird test. And so D would be an eagle, I would be a peacock, S would be a dove, and C would be an owl. And when I taught it, we did an exercise where we got the students to pair up, and I got them to pretend like they were buying a car, and both of them had to pretend like they were D. So they were high dominance and have a conversation. One of them was trying to sell the car for the best price, and one of them was trying to buy the car and get the cheapest price. And so I got them to do D to begin with, and they all just yelled at each other. It was like, it was chaos. It was fucking chaos. And then I got them all to switch into dove mode, into S mode. And again, one of them was trying to sell it for the highest price, and one was trying to buy it for the lowest price. And everyone was like, oh, no, you have more money. No, I'll make it cheaper. Like it was quite hilarious. And so the whole point of the exercise was that you need huge diversity in that communication style of disc in a team, because if you've got people that are the same, you're never going to fucking get anywhere. And so the whole thing was about making sure that we appreciated other people's communication styles in regards to disc so that we could actually utilize it and play to the strengths of those people and put them into the right roles in the right place. And so, yeah, it was a core fundamental thing that they sort of learned, and it was fucking hilarious watching the head of the school walk past and be like, why is everyone in her classroom screaming?
That's interesting because as you talk about that, it reminds me too that like with disc, there are dominant cultural norms that influence
that classroom.
people's styles.
So I got them to do it all. That classroom was mainly C's with some S. There was 2 kids that never shut the fuck up that were high D and I, and that was it. And it was fascinating to see those cultural norms play out because, you know, there's such a stereotype, but it was 100% correct.
Yeah, and because, you know, if you look at disc as a communication preference style, a communication preference or style, then that makes sense, right?
For sure. And that's the lens that we were teaching it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, it was cool.
One of the things that I found really useful is, so I use disc whenever I'm communicating to a team of people, so either an audience that I don't yet know, a cohort of people that are in my team, a project team I'm working with, clients, etc. I always assume that all 4 styles are receiving the information I'm sending. So when I write emails, I always start with the 3 or 4 bullet points.
Too long, didn't read. Here it is.
Yeah, always. And so when I was at Grow Wellington, I used to do this to the whole team, and I explained to them why the emails were structured that way. And I would always start with the 3 or 4 bullet points. So the D's kind of got what they needed. Then I would warm it up and I'd be like, hi team, hope you've had a great week. You know, comment on a couple of sort of more personal things, wrap it up with some nice words.
Oh my God. Yeah. Keep going. I've got a story for after that.
And then I would always attach more information for the S's and C's because they would always be like, but what does this mean? And is it
how does this affect me?
And is it more important than this other project? And what about this? And have you thought about that? And so I would always just make sure that all of the context, all the FAQs, all the information was included. But as an attachment, because the D's and I's were never going to look at the detail, but the S's and C's couldn't move forward until they had the detail.
Yeah.
And so that's how I would structure my emails all of the time. And, you know, one of the pieces of feedback I often get around, especially that Grow Wellington team, was what a great team culture we had. And I was like, yeah, because we were all on the same page because
you gave the expectations, but you also gave them all the stuff that they needed.
Yeah, and then I explained to them how to communicate that way. So that became, as a team, our default communication style was to like lean into this. So we were all just kind of like, I'm informed. Yeah. Because no matter what style you were,
I've got what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's in terms of a key takeout for disc. Like even though I learned it in a sales context originally, it's been most useful when influencing others or influencing teams of people.
100%.
Yeah. Tell us your story.
Don't ever, with someone who's high I, send them a Slack without being like, or like a quick message at work without being like, hi, how's your weekend going? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. They will lose the plot, think you are mad at them, and just have a terrible day.
What's the context?
So I've previously had high I's in a team, and I'm usually someone that, like, when someone asks me how I am, I'm like, that's perfunctory. You don't actually, like, it doesn't actually matter. Let's get on with it. Like, hey, how are you?
D comes in.
Yeah. They're like, hey, how are you? So I was thinking about going to blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, cool, I'm just going to ask that question because, hey, how are you is redundant.
Yeah.
It's not really a thing. With eyes, it's not redundant. They really care. They need that communication. And I made the mistake of just being like, yeah, hey, I need this, blah, 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 blah. Can you do this? Don't do that. And just, it was this sort of a few messages all at Slack at the same time. And that person was like, have I done something? Are you upset with me? Are you okay? And I was like, oh, sweetheart, I forgot that you're a high I. Everything is fine. How was your day? What's going on? Like, I'm just like, eyes need time.
Yeah.
They need your time. And I'm like, my D kicked in and went, I ain't got it for you.
Yeah. The eyes are like, acknowledge me as a person.
Yep.
And the D's are like,
and then we can talk about the details.
And the D's are like, get the task done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating when it plays out. Or when you've got someone who is deep C communicating with someone who is deep D, and you can see them at opposite ends of the table trying to have a conversation. You're just like, this person at the D end doesn't give a fuck. And this person at the C end gives too many fucks.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I first learned the framework, one of the things I got taught is the worst thing that could happen to each style. So the worst thing that could happen to an I is someone saying, I don't like you.
Yeah.
The worst thing to someone who's high C is you're wrong. The worst thing
Or you've done it wrong.
Yeah, you've done it wrong. The worst thing you could say to a high S is, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, don't care. And to a high D is, but before we get there, we need to go through all of this information. Like, slowing it down, or how do you feel?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
And so I've got a few Ds in my team at the moment. Corporate horoscopes, right? Like, that's where that came from, because they're going, do not ask me how I feel. I don't want to be a part of that. Like, that's all woo-woo. That's all airy-fairy. Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah. And it's interesting because those people would be more effective at their work if they understood how to shift their communication preference from their own quadrant to the other three, depending on who they were talking to.
And being able to spot it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the pieces of work I'm doing with some of my team members at the moment is getting them to do their own DISC profile and then make assumptions or try and pick what everyone else is in the team.
Perfect.
To be able to then go, okay, well, what does that mean for how you communicate with that person? And how do we get to the results quicker because of that? And what does that actually mean for you? It doesn't mean that they hate you. That means that they just need less details.
Yeah. And also in terms of structuring meetings, I think.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, like Ds will run a meeting. They'll be late to the meeting, no agenda.
They'll need a picture.
Yeah, and they'll leave the room before anyone else is finished.
And they'll be texting or taking a phone call.
Yeah. Whereas the Is will spend, if there's an hour-long meeting, the Is will spend 50 minutes talking about the weekend.
And they'll be the ones
life.
that bring all the treats and make sure everyone's got a coffee and do you need a glass of water? And
Yeah. And then the S's will be there early, arrive late, take notes and have a series of questions and have to book a second meeting to get the information they need.
Yeah.
And in that, they'll be really concerned about how whatever the meeting was about will affect people.
Yeah.
The C's will be with the S's, but they just want to know, what do you want me to do? What does good look like? And
how do I know when I've succeeded?
Yeah. How do I know that I've done enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's fascinating when you know that, because what will happen again is the people that are like you, if you stay in your lane, they will love your meetings and everyone else will be frustrated as hell. And so it's very unlikely that you have a whole team of people that are just like you. So, so unless you learn how to manage your time and adjust your style to engage with other people, you're just going to miss the mark.
Fully.
Yeah.
100%. And it is, I think what you need to understand is that people aren't always the one thing in one place.
Yeah.
So when they're in high stress, they will revert to they'll go to a different place that they might naturally when they're in a good place. And so you have to be ready for the pivots within that communication style as well. Like like I said, when I need to pee or I'm hungry and someone's at a meeting going, yes, but what does this mean for 2027? I'm like, God fucking damn it. It doesn't fucking matter. I need to get out of here.
Blood sugar's low, patience lower.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Yeah. And so being able to recognize when someone has switched in a meeting is also a really key skill, which DISC helps you identify that switch.
Yeah, and also ask for what you need. I think one of the cool people I worked with at Grow in my team, I hired someone that was really high C. I needed someone to be a project coordinator that could basically bring everything together consistently, regularly, because we were reporting through to council and what have you. And so we used DISC as a team tool, and she was very high C. And that was a real strength. Like we needed that, and she was amazing. And you know what was great is we'd sort of get to sort of near the end of the meeting, and she would be like, okay, we've got 10 minutes left in the meeting. I need to put on my C hat. I need consistency and information from all of you on what the tasks are that need to happen as a result of this meeting.
I love it.
It was so good, and it gave us permission to be like, actually, let's spend another 20 minutes and get this right. Or let's have, maybe her and I just have a debrief and capture the next steps. But what it meant is I always felt really confident that, so it's kind of also going, what are you good at? What are you not great at? And how can you bring someone in to support you that complements your skill set?
Oh, 100%. Like I look at my sales team and I've got high D, I've got a high I, I've got a high S, a high C, and they all have to work together because at least we know a proposal will be given on time because they're all in that space.
Perfect. That's perfect.
So one of them's worrying about the outcomes and making sure that it's very clear. One of them's worried about the client, making sure that they've got all the information and they feel like they're being taken on a journey. The S is like making sure that everything is going to work smoothly along the process and everyone's happy and everything's like rocking along. And the C is like, this needs to match, this needs to match, this needs to match this. And we've got everything that we need for the whole entire process.
Yeah, that's awesome because it also means what gets put in front of a client. hopefully reflects those 4 styles. And so no matter who's
100%.
picking it up from the client side, they're going to get what they need from it.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is like when you're working, you have to, it's not just about how you communicate. Like it's not just about you. It's also about the people that you communicate with in your team and then what they're communicating externally. And but if you can identify all the way down the channels, life is just going to be easier.
Yeah, so I think that's why we love these tools is because it gives common language. So you can, if someone's doubling down their D and you're like, hey, you're being 2D, none of us understand what you're saying because you've literally just shouted the same 5 things at us. Like,
honestly, like I work with someone that if you give her a wall of text, she's going to put it off and put it off and put it off, put it off until you can actually sit down and either talk to her or draw her a picture.
Yeah.
And then it's all 100%.
Yeah.
That's fine. And so like knowing that just makes life 50,000 times easier.
yeah, it is. And, you know, and we know, like we said at the start, we know this is one tool in the toolkit. It's not an absolute truth. It changes based on context, time of day, all of that.
I think you really hit the nail on the head when you're talking about the difference between looking at it as a personality test or defining who you are as a person versus your communication style.
Yeah.
And we all know that our communication style changes constantly. And like whether I need to pee and I'm hungry or whether I'm chill and at home or whether I'm on the podcast or at work, it changes constantly. So for me, it doesn't feel like it's an absolute because I know that comms changes all of the time and my style changes all of the time. So of course this would fit.
I'm just giggling because I remember a guy that I worked with in Queensland and I used this as a framework I had sort of 17 direct reports who were all branch managers and all of them were men. And to start with, I obviously changed that.
I was going to say, that doesn't sound like a team you'd run.
I inherited that. And as part of sort of building some team understanding and team cohesion, we did a few of these kind of tools and this was one. And one of the guys, you know, there'd been some of his staff that had quite high staff turnover and couldn't really figure out what was going on, like overall good culture, all of this kind of stuff. Delved a bit deeper, seemed like maybe his leadership style wasn't the most effective in that environment, and so did the disc stuff with him. Realized, so this is his self-assessment. He's like, cool. So naturally I'm quite high I, but when I get to work, it's the only place where my opinion matters. I've got 3 teenagers and no one listens to me at home. And at work, I get to tell people what to do.
So he switches into D.
Yeah, because he was just like, I'm overshadowed by teenagers at home and I'm redundant and no one cares what I think. So when I'm at work, I'm like, everyone has to do what I say. I was like, good insight.
Good context.
Yeah.
Good self-awareness.
Yeah. And now what are we going to do to soften those 2 environments? You know, like fascinating. And so what he realized was this kind of feeling of lack of control and lack of importance at home. So at work, he kind of bought into this hierarchy manager status. And so that meant authority. That meant being more D.
And everyone went, fuck you, I'm out.
Yeah. And everyone was like, oh, because when you first join, everyone's a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
But then, you know, suddenly it comes up to end of quarter, looking at performance metrics, and the
Yeah.
pressure would come on. So he became more of what he thought was the right style.
Yeah.
Because he had a model in his mind of what a manager was.
And that's the other thing is like, we all have our perspectives, our hang-ups, all of the shit that shapes how we show up with in those communication styles. And these concepts of how people should be and what we should be is shaped by that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting in terms of how context really shapes how you show up and
100%.
communicate.
And your perspective and your idea of how you should behave shapes it as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in summation, these tools are helpful for gathering insight on yourself and how you impact others around you. So we'd really encourage building more self-awareness.
Oh, communication is my soapbox. And I think you should at least delve into it once in your lifetime just to understand how everyone rocks around in this world and how we can make it smoother for everybody. So we're going to wrap up there. What do you have for us for a tweet of the week, Melissa?
Cool. So it's not directly related to DISC, but I just liked it. It's by Changemakers, and it says, there's a lot of middle ground between the rigid funk of stagnation and the craziness of chaos.
Sorry, I couldn't get past the rigid funk.
I know, that's why I liked it. I liked the word choice. There's a lot of middle ground between the rigid funk of stagnation and the craziness of chaos. And I think that what it was telling me is just, again, that constant reminder that things aren't binary. It's not.
It's not black and white.
It's not 0 or
Doesn't
100.
matter how C you are.
Yeah.
It's not black and white.
There's grey people. There's grey.
Yeah. Play in the grey and get comfortable playing in the grey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
TikTok at us.
As normal, mine's got nothing to do with anything.
Fabulous.
But this is the source of all of my problems usually.
I'm just feeling really down these days, and I don't know why. Have you exercised today? No. Did you go outside? No. Did you talk to anyone? No. Did you eat well? No. Did you limit your scrolling time? No. Did you make any plans? No. Did you drink enough water? No. Did you get enough sleep? No. Wait, yes. Yes to that one. Yeah, no, it's, what a mystery.
I felt attacked. But it is correct. I mean, for me it is. For you it wouldn't be because it's about sleep. So...
It would be the opposite yeses on the list.
You'd be like, yes, I've done all of those things, but no, I did not get any sleep.
Correct.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like, oh no, I slept real well. I'm still tired though. Anyway, that is us for another week. We'll be back next week with more shenanigans. I was going to say a whole other word, but I will not. Thank you again for listening. Don't forget to share us across the internet, far and wide. You will find us on Spotify, Apple, Google, and anywhere that you get your podcasts. Please do us a favor and please subscribe so you get your automatic downloads. And if you can rate us, we would love that. Send us a nice message. We do read them. And don't forget to follow us on Insta, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. And as always, get out there and use your fucking words.